Good day, and welcome to Ranneko tries the Torment Tides of Numenera Alpha Systems Test. Let's give it a go. It just includes the very first scene of the game. It's basically just there so they can test that the various bits and pieces work. So let's see how it is.
Mind wakes in darkness. Aching cold sets into an unfamiliar body. A distant howling surrounds you, louder with each passing second. Insistent and invisible hands slap and tear at the membrane that protects you.
Cool.
Your first emotion is an involuntary and formless panic. You feel you have forgotten something important. As if it once meant the world to you. But the details slip away as you grasp at them. You force your eyes open.
Let's look at me first.
Wait, you are wearing a form-fitting suit of some dark material. You recall that you were wearing something much more elaborate a short time ago. You have smooth, light brown skin, 5 fingers on each hand, 5 toes on each foot. Good muscles, strong but not bulky, and slim hips. Your palms are soft, as if they have not done much labor, but scars and burns on the hands and wrists suggest that you haven't always been careful. Why can't you remember this? Without warning, the cocoon that surrounds you shreds and tears away. You are falling. The world is many kilometers below you.
Flatten out to catch the wind.
You spread your arms and legs, and they respond sluggishly. You stop tumbling head over heels. Though you are still spinning laterally, that motion has calmed as well, and you have space to assess your situation, and perhaps to understand the predicament and the body in which you find yourself.
This does explain the whistling wind.
Below you, you see a large landmass. A massive ocean dominates the rest of the visible globe, dotted here and there with island chains. Small rooms, unusual structures, and strange machines rush past you in glittering profusion as you plummet toward the ground.
Numenera takes place 1 billion years or so into the future, and you do have a Pangea. I think the most important thing is to work out how I'm meant to survive this fall.
A huge megacontinent, the only land of any size on this side of the world at least. Great inland seas and lakes dot the land, and curiously, regular mountain ranges march up and down and across. You are falling toward what looks to be a great bay, a sprawling city perched on its shore just to the north.
Okay.
Further to the north and east, you see a broad plain scattered with curious structures visible even from this height. The northeastern portion
that was mentioned in the Kickstarter.
A desert, a strange blue dot like an eye in its exact center. It seems to hold a city in its watery grasp. To its west is a ring of huge mountains surmounted by enormous carved peaks spewing magma into a central catch basin. What concerns you most right now is the bay below you. It's coming
at least we're going to a bay, not that it makes any difference when we're falling from this height.
You've reached a velocity that could, without irony, best be named terminal. You spread your arms and legs and try to catch a draft, and it looks like you'll hit the bay that's rushing toward you, unless you hit the building in its littered waters. A strange web of colors surrounds you.
Really wish that we got more of an image here rather than that, but I mean, you got the words.
You strike the building hard enough to crack its crystalline structure, and you hear one of the engines that supports it protest and howl, and the agony of the crash overcomes you. And then...
That's an interesting opening. And now we'll have an actual... Oh, nice. It's more zoomed out than I assumed. Because, at least after Pillars... Okay, yeah, and here we stop having it being completely narrated. But after Pillars, I assumed it would be kind of aping the Torment style, Planescape Torment style, which was really zoomed in. Almost frustratingly so. So it's good to see that you actually have the camera pulled back like this. You fell. You remember falling towards the curve of the world. The ground leapt up to claim you. Impact. You should be dead. If so, this is a strange death. There is no peace here, and your mind aches, struggling to form simple thoughts. This doesn't seem like death, nor any kind of life you recognize. Okay, So now I can move around, and it's a very jolty movement. Let's get under this drop. No, I can't reach there. Let's look at this thing. Jumbled thoughts cloud your head as you study the empty bowl before you. Drops of liquids fall from the ceiling, spattering on the ground just next to the bowl. The light from every drop is reflected from the bowl's rounded hollow, as if it hungers from that light, needs to be filled, yet the bowl remains dry. Examine the bowl. Another drop falls from the ceiling and splashes across the pylons. Wasted. You traced your fingers over the slippery, overlapping scales that spiral up from the bottom of the bowl. The sharp-toothed rim plucks at your skin. Reflected light streaks across the surface of the bowl as another drop falls from the ceiling. If I just repeat it, will it give me the same thing? No. The slick overlapping scales have sharp, hungry edges that nip at your flesh. Each shining drop of light from the unseamed ceiling seems to linger in the bowl's polished depths. And this is clearly the way of doing the light source, but I'm going to keep looking at it. Okay, fine. Carefully move the bowl between the liquid. Might. So Numenera has 3 stats that you have, that you kind of test. Might, intellect, and speed. And yeah, okay, so difficulty, demanding. I can apply effort, which will use up 3 of my points of might over here. Ah, right, so that's what all of these bits are. Which will drop it to standard. Or I can just leave it at demanding. Whoop. Okay, I failed. You seize the rim of the bowl, barely feeling the edges tearing at your flesh. With great effort, you haul it over the glowing pool of light. Lose 1 might pool. Okay, so because I failed, I lost might. But if I'd spent might, I would have lost 3, unless that's a permanent loss. Wow, that is bloody. Blood trails from your fingers into the hungry depths of the bowl. Drop by drop, it fills, your blood mixing with the light until the air itself takes on a strange reddish hue. Ripples spread over the blurred outline of your reflection. A sanguine radiance spills across the segmented floor, washing away the nearest shadows and pouring into your mind, melting the ragged edges of your fragmented thoughts. You are not whole, not yet, but you have begun to heal from the damage done in your long fall. A voice calls out from somewhere high above, beyond the reaches of the spreading light. Hello? Oh, Skist, you're dead, aren't you? No, that can't be right. If you were dead, I would be too. Can you hear me? Saying nothing. I can't hear anything. Are you even there? Well, if you can hear me, that means you're still alive, but you'd already know that, wouldn't you? Look, I'm just going to assume that we're both alive and want to stay that way, alright? So here's what you have to do. I can't get to you, so you need to build a way up to me. I don't know how you're going to do that. I mean, this is your mind. It's not like I have a map. This is your mind. I bet your memories are down there. Find them, and you'll repair the path up to where I am. Are you there? I feel like I'm talking to myself here. I'm here! Did you say something? Was that even you? I can't tell. Doesn't matter. Just build a path up, then we can face this meth together, and you won't be alone. I won't be alone. The voice fades until it passes into inaudibility. Blank oppressive silence falls, split only by the soft hum of new pylons rising from the depths. So this is the opening scene. Ah, there we go. Ah, cool. Oh wait, no, I want to go look at that. Metal waves roll over the floors below, sending vibrations through the soles of your boots, so you don't actually have to go all the way over there. And here's this. The air thickens with each step you take towards this watery orb, and whispering voices flit across one of the countless aching gaps in your mind. This must be one of the memories you were told to find. 2 figures swim down through the orb, as though it is a fathomless ocean, one vanishing into the ebony depths before you can study it. The other, a male, seems to be struggling, or perhaps drowning. You realize that, like the swimmer, you cannot breathe. I'm going to rescue the swimmer before he drowns with speed. This is a standard act. but I can make it a simple act by expending more speed. So let's do that. Permanently gain 2 speed pool. Okay, sweet. Critical success. You plunge your hand into the orb and catch the tiny swimmer. Surprisingly strong muscles flex against your palm, and the swimmer pulls you through the breach. As he does, you feel faster. Something about this place causes even your smallest choices to shape who you are. As you plunge into the water, a memory floods your mind. Yeah. Okay. You stand in front of a rusted door. The air is humid and dank. You've had a moment's respite from this waterlogged hell. A bubble of stale air at your resting point. You've breathed water before, and you've lived decades beneath the waves, but this body is an air breather, and the constant pressure has been crushing you ever so subtly. Worse, your companion's mind seems to be wandering from the task at hand. He's a genius with machines, as you well know, but now he seems distracted. The device in his hands is covered in knobs, wires, and antennae. He believes it can get the two of you through the corroded door, but he's merely staring at it. Perhaps he's lost faith in his invention, but that's hardly your concern. This mission cannot be delayed. It must proceed. Let's go with, this is taking too long. Cast a spell like an esoteric to fix the device yourself. You mumble a few words, drawing power from the air until a solution appears in your mind. You snatch the device from your hand, rewire it, and shove it back at him. "Oh," he says, examining your work. "Sorry, I was trying to improve the thing." He waves the device at the door, and the stale air of your bubble freshens as the door swings open. A dark hallway lies beyond, a passage that links the waterboarded cells and the aquatic viewing areas. What you seek lies there. An electric current runs through your fingers as your hand crosses the vertical plane of the pedestal, and an iridescent field coalesces so fast that the wave of pressure dazes you for a moment. The rising pulse of a sonar alarm ripples through the water. Guards won't be far behind. Use a device to stop them. One of the ciphers in your belt. You run the urgent fingers over the devices fastened to your waist, a fog rising in your mind. A few can be used against guards, but will also turn your skin to synth steel or the surrounding water to boiling wax. Hardly ideal. Finally, you find a small silver sphere. Pressing the sphere in place, you kick desperately for the safety of a nearby alcove. The sphere whirls and unfolds into a spiraling vortex. The sphere at its center speaks a few polite words in an ancient language, and begins draining the surrounding water into itself at an alarming speed. The approaching guards shout, then scream, as they too are sucked into the whirlpool and ripped to shreds. You allow yourself a fleeting smile, but are all too aware that more alarms are going off in the distance. The memory begins to fade as you are being drawn backward through a tunnel, and you feel more pylons rising from the pit. Something is wrong. The events within the orb have settled into the gap in your mind, but the edges of it are rough, as though the memory itself is truly not yours. There is something else, a gust of sour air pulling at you like a predator inhaling the scent of its prey at the far end of a dark, whispering field. Cool. And now we can't go back. But our movement seems to have evened out. Let me look. Inventory? Nope. Options. Just let's see what options are currently available. Conversations. So you can change these bits. You can change the... You will be able to change the language. Camera. Last cast off. Arbitrary resolution. Full screen mode. Sure. Alright. Not like those will be representative. The light around the door's frame dims and flares like a roaring fire in a high wind. No sign or symbol tells you what might be behind this enormous door. A dull chill radiates from its bronzed, segmented surface, and the thick metal wheel seems frozen in place. Countless scratches and wounds mar the surface of this door. Someone made a great effort to get inside, to no avail. And here's another memory. This orb, this memory, resembles an eye or masked face. It just turns to face you with cold disdain. Mechanisms spin and mesh beneath the gleaming surface, and an ominous ticking begins. It's getting faster and faster. Two cold facts emerge from the mental gap this memory once occupied. The ticking does indeed mean the device will soon explode, and you have no one to blame but yourself. This trap is yours, built to protect the memory within. Let's work swiftly to disable the trap before it explodes. That's what I've got all that speed for. Or maybe... no, let's use intellect. Let's do the same thing. We'll expend a level of effort, use up more of our intellect in the process, but hope for a critical success. Yeah! You focus, shutting out the racing ticks of the device, and see the hands reaching out, gently cupping the sides of the orb like an upturned face. You feel the connections in your mind increasing, strengthening. You touch the orb in the same way, and the mechanisms within grow still as the warmth of the memory races up your arms and into your mind. There we go, 2 more intellect pool. You stand beside a woman on a verdant crag. Beneath the two of you is a broad declivity, a flat-bottomed bowl riven by a wide chasm. I guess that's what declivity means. Interesting. Moss-covered arches provide natural ingress and egress for the light, and a broad golden disc gleams up from the floor of the valley. Your self-aware humanoid machines drill into the base of the cliffs below. If you were looking for a sanctuary, and you were, desperately, this seems like the right place. I don't know about this, the woman says, her voice flat, neutral. What makes this place any more secure than the others we've found? Draw our attention to hidden details, use charm, convince her with it. Let's draw our attention to hidden details that your more experienced eye can clearly see. You shade your eyes against the bright sun so that you can point out the metals and bluff, the plentiful game to be found in the area, and the solid bedrock beneath the site. She thinks deeply. It's geologically sound. Have you run sounding samples and checked the strata? No major caverns or weaknesses show up on your resonance scans? She waits for your affirmation and says, "Alright, I'm convinced." The two of you sketch your plans for the sanctuary, drawing schematics and architectural diagrams. Then you descend into the valley to examine the open ground. The woman suggests having one of the servitors build a shelter for your time here. You try to draw one of the constructs away from its task, but it doesn't respond to your voice. When you lay a hand on its shoulder to reinforce your command, it whirls and strikes you across the face with inhuman speed. It turns back to its task, ignoring you. Your companion helps you with a rise, laughter in its eyes. It seems your companion has other ideas. What's the matter with it? Okay. Use the Numenera integrated into the construct's body to overwhelm the behavior malfunction. Look for a deeper solution. Let's go with the Numenera integrated. A fog oozes into the valley as you activate the time-scarred artifacts fastened to the construct's behavioral core with the sub-vocalized command. With an abrupt clack and a pulse of pleasant warmth, the devices purge the error, and 7 copper-branded spheres drop out of evenly spaced rifts in the air. Ignoring this common side effect, you give new orders to the malfunctioning construct in a firm, clear voice. Acknowledged. It obediently trundles to the site of your new shelter. The image freezes, then fades. You feel the memory filling the gap in your mind, blocked by jagged block. You stagger, clutching your head. The spectral voice didn't warn you that reclaiming your memories would hurt so much. And once more, there's something else. Hairs lift one by one on the back of your neck. Something beyond this room can sense what you are doing, and is hunting you. And there's another memory. There's something that we want to do with these doors, I assume. But this isn't going up. Your fingers are twitching, your mind races. Each blink sends branching streams of white fire across the inside of your eyeballs. You can't deny it. You feel stronger and sharper, more whole than when you landed here. Captive light swirls mockingly beneath the thick surface of the orb before you, obscuring shadows, memories behind it. You will need to claim them somehow if you are to be free of this place and find your companion. I'm going to go with more intellect. You coax the shadows to the front of the glass so that you can see them. And again, let's use some of that effort. I mean, if all of these tasks here are reinforcing a pull, this means that I will have more at the end of it. Or at least barely less. Success, yeah. Your confidence grows. Speaking quietly, you call a slender shadow to the surface of the glass, into the light. It is a young woman bound in chains of sorrow. She speaks quietly of a memory. You lean in closer and closer, until her whispered words fill your mind. Yep, more intellect pool. I am a smart cookie. A vision of a city springs up around you. Your city, in flames and under attack. Her defenders have fought and died all day, and still the attackers keep coming. They fight as if your destruction were demanded of them. They care nothing for mercy, surrender, or plunder. What they want is blood. But you have brought a keen-eyed companion to the top of the tower. She has seen the way to stop the invaders. You need to get her to safety, and you need to rally your defenders. But even as you turn toward the door of the tower, two of the attackers descend from a hovering machine. You don't have time to strike at them before they land. One is brutishly large, his weapon a vibrating axe. The other is slim, sheathed in glassy armor and holding a hilt with a sizzling, invisible blade. Your companion backs away. She's too young to help. Your enemies advance single file, confined by the parapet. Okay. I'm gonna go with speed here, which is what I think this will be. But we'll see. Duck under the giant swing and attack before he can strike. You roll under the blurring arc of his axe. He's overconfident, testing you without committing to the attack. Yes, he's fast, but not as fast as you are. And when he raises the axe above his head to finish you, you're able to bury your blade under his breastplate. The blade emerges from the back of his neck, and his life washes over your hands. He falls, taking your weapon with him, and his companion attacks. Her invisible blade is far more lethal than the giant's axe. You duck as she thrusts at you, and the wall behind you hisses, destroyed. Her return swing cuts through your armor, ruining your breastplate. She doesn't need to be skilled with a weapon like this. She just has to make contact. You time your attack just as she pulls it back for another strike. You barrel into her, driving her over the wall as she drops screaming to the ground 50 meters below. The immediate threat ended. You focus on finding a way back to your allies. You open the tower door and rush down the stairs. The door at the base of the stairs is slightly cracked, opening just a bit into the hall, and you hear more of the enemy soldiers beyond. Hurl yourself at the door, knock it to the ground, crack the door open to sneak past them. You press yourself against the gleaming door, easing it open, and your breath catches in your throat. It squeaks quietly, the sound like a bell in your memory. You pause, but the soldiers in the hall continue to talk. You push again, squeeze yourself through the narrow opening, and creep down the blood-stained hall. The memory begins to fade, and you find yourself back in your own body. Your temples throb with the racing force of your heartbeat, and the reclaimed memories blaze within you like a bonfire on a mountain peak, visible to every predator for kilometers around. A tremor rocks the floor beneath you as though a massive fist has struck the room itself. Swaying on your feet, you see frantic movement within the borders of a mirror at the edge of the room. And there's our exit. And suddenly, it does look like we're higher up. And there's our mirror. The border of this mirror is lavishly decorated with a dizzying number of interlocked symbols, daggers, masks, paintbrushes, amulets, and more. But there's nothing compared to what you see in the glass. You see a vast crowd of people, exact doppelgangers of you, shoving and arguing with and fighting each other. Most are drab imitations of you, but a precious few are vivid and pull at your attention. Each of them bears an intricate pentagonal diagram on their head. Probably would be good if at least this was shown. We'd see a reflection. Anyway, we'll see. This is an alpha. This is a systems test. In their eyes, their actions, you see the memories you discovered within the orbs and the choices you made, shining like distant stars. Your hand twitches at your side, as though some of the bright doppelgangers ignore you, an even smaller number immediately turn to you, waiting for you to choose them to learn what you might become. A rumble shakes the room, and slow vibrations spread up from the darkness below, rippling toward the ceiling. So I guess this is kind of a starting specialization based on this setup. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go with... Point at the doppelganger, moving cautiously through the crowd. Falling into a wary, well-balanced crouch, the doppelganger creeps toward you, scanning his surroundings with suspicious eyes. Each movement it makes is slow, subtle, and deliberate. Unfolding from the crouch, the doppelganger waits for your decision. Yes, this is who I am. The decision rings out in the cavernous room, awakening and unlocking vast mechanisms from behind the wall. Suddenly, a grotesque noise rings through your shared worlds, like a bell if bells could rot. This place, your mind, is under attack. The remaining doppelgangers scatter for the edges of the mirror and vanish. Untroubled, your chosen identity steps out of the rippling glass and into you, filling you. The mirror fades, leaving a dark open doorway. You take a deep breath and step through. Game descriptor, cautious. Because Numenera, if you're unfamiliar with the role-playing game, character creation is done through descriptor. I don't actually remember the 3 names for it, but it's I'm a blank blank who blanks. So I'm a cautious blank who blanks at this stage, with a fairly high intellect and decent speed. Okay. In the real game, at this point, you have the opportunity to review and change your stat pool allocations and descriptor. Thus concludes this Alpha Systems test. Thank you for playing, and please send us your thoughts through the in-game feedback button. So, yeah. That's the current taste. Obviously, it's an intro sequence. It's a lot of reading. There's nothing really being displayed here. It's particularly relevant. That could change. I like the writing. I'm not entirely convinced that that is exactly what we're after. Okay. And we'll see more bits and pieces come through here as the alpha tests continue. And I may do videos to do that. I'm pretty keen for the game. So we'll see how it all goes. It'll be interesting just seeing how they include backer content. I was pretty disappointed with the handling of Pillars of Eternity and backer content, but I've seen it handled really well. I quite liked how it was handled in Massive Chalice, for example. So, we'll see. Alright, until next time, have a great day. Bye.